I would like to address the current ban that has been placed upon me. My team and I have looked over the footage, and we have come to the conclusion that it is a fair and just suspension. In this cutthroat business, everyone is trying to be the first to find the needle in the haystack. This is not my needle. This is not my haystack. Going forward, I will think before I post. With that being said, I'm going to change absolutely nothing about the boldness of my statements, and I'm going to continue conducting my business in the same manner that I always have. Daniel Jones will win the AFC South for the Indianapolis Colts. Thank you.
So it's a bold statement. Hey, I appreciate you taking the time to address the press. That was not what they wanted to hear. Everyone would be gunning for you on Sunday, and you know it. The league is going to come right back at you, and you know it. You know it.
Bring it on.
This guy's got 7 more hours on his 48-hour ban left before he can post to the story. I'm sure it'll be up soon about his Daniel Jones MVP take. Rough week for the boys when it comes to picking. I mean, We've talked about it before. We'll say it again. We don't really know what we're talking about sometimes. It's way more fun to have really big reactions to, minuscule things. And on this Overreaction Wednesday, we're going to get, our picks a little bit later. But there are a ton of teams to overreact about right now, week 1.
And this is good like overreactions, bad overreactions.
This is kind of exactly where we are. I mean, we implemented something this week called the first drive take. As you know, if you follow the story, one of our first drive takes seemed incredibly accurate. That was my first drive take about the Detroit Lions, and Jack's first drive take about the Chicago Bears. Didn't really work out for him, right?
No, my first drive take was good.
All right.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't. No, I'm sorry. No, it wasn't.
Caleb Williams.
We shouldn't even record today, to be honest with you.
Yeah. We're doing this for you guys. I mean, the higher ups don't want this happening, but look, the fact of the matter is that we're not going to change, right? And that's just how it is.
We're probably going to make twice the amount of bad takes. I think week 1 is national make your worst take week.
Correct.
Because you haven't seen anything. You don't know who's good, who's not. It's also National Overreact Week, and we've got a whole list of teams to overreact about.
Agreed.
Let's start with the most recent game. Let's overreact about the Bears a little bit. I overreacted in the first drive, as we all know. I think everyone overreacted in the first half by being like, oh my God, this team maybe is going to be good this year. And then in the most Chicago fashion, they just completely
fell apart.
Just
fell apart in the second half. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if this is more of a statement about the Bears or if it is about the Vikings, which is another team that's on our list to talk about for overreactions. If we're talking about the Bears, their first drive was pretty flawless. Caleb Williams looked like he was really comfortable in the pocket. A lot of checkdowns. I think he was like 6 for 6 on his completion percentage and was scrambling for first downs, scrambles in for the touchdown. Like, he looked like he was starting to take that jump towards being a top caliber quarterback that we've been trying to see from him, right? Like, he's one of those guys that came into the league as like the generational talent label. And to be honest with you, I don't know if we've seen one of those guys like pan out since like the Mannings. You know what I mean? Like, there hasn't been a guy that's like really been like, oh my God, this is the next great guy. Maybe you could count like Andrew Luck or someone like that, but he only played 8 seasons in the NFL, right? So he came in with that generational talent label, being the Heisman as a junior. First overall pick to the Bears, an offense that has a ton of weapons, right? You're looking at this team and you're like, there's no reason that they should be bad. Their defense was playing fantastic in the first half, and then just everything fell apart in the second half, right? So is that more so on the players, or do you think that's more so on the coaching?
Well, I think it's a combination of both. First of all, Soldier Field was the loudest I've ever heard it on the first defensive drive when the Vikings had the ball first.
Right.
They were the loudest I had ever heard them be. And I just want to give a little backstory to why I said that. Caleb Williams made a throw where he rolled out to the right and then on the run threw the football about 75 miles an hour right to Rome Odunze on the sideline.
Yep.
And then he scrambled in for his first ever rushing touchdown.
Correct.
I think he showed flashes of what we could see.
Mm-hmm.
For me, to answer your question, I think it's a combination of both.
Okay.
I think the Bears don't know what to do when they're winning a game by so much that they can play contain.
Yep.
And also Dennis Allen's their defensive coordinator, and he was horrible with the Saints last year.
Okay.
Um, so I think it's a combination of both. I think that the offense just stalled. And obviously, Brian Flores is one of the defensive coordinators in the NFL.
Correct.
He was figuring out what they were doing after 2 drives, almost to a T.
Yep.
So I think that you have to give a lot of credit to the Vikings coaching.
I
I
agree.
think I think defensively they made some big plays. I mean, Jonathan Owens stopped uh whatever their tight end's name is, Oliver, on the 1 yard line on a 2-point conversion that would tie the game. So they made plays that put themselves in a position to win the football game.
Right.
But then they made a lot of lapses in judgment that put them in the position to lose. And I think it's a combination of both coaching and the players not executing the way that they wanted to.
Yeah, Flores feints from like showing the blitz to cover 2 to like some other stuff that they were doing was pretty impressive to see the movement on the backside. Like it was a tough defense to crack if you're Caleb Williams. And that's why you saw him, missing some of his receivers down the field and hitting checkdowns a lot, right? Like he had a lot of completions, but they weren't for big yardage in the start. I thought DeAndre Swift looked really good in the
Yeah.
third quarter and the second quarter, and then they stopped giving him the ball. You know what I mean? So, like, is that more so on the offense? Is that because you were running out of time and you needed to throw the ball downfield? Like, what do we think the story is there? Because it felt
Well, I
like
mean,
the Bears had a lead to contain and they coughed it up, right? And look, no one going into half thought that JJ McCarthy would come out for the Vikings and play the way he did, right? Respond the way he did because he looked like a deer in headlights in that first half.
and the
But
third
that's the
quarter. It
thing.
wasn't
In
until
the
the
third
fourth
quarter,
quarter.
it's true.
Yeah,
It's true.
I mean, again, I think that the Bears had a chance to win that game. I mean, Caleb
Yeah.
Williams missed a wide open DJ Moore on a slant route on 4th down that would have completely iced the game.
It's true. He was
So-
throwing bad passes in the second half. Like there were multiple moments on screen passes where he was throwing the ball behind his receiver and into the ground. Right. So even if they caught it, they were backtracking and then they would just get smoked by the guy coming off the edge.
I think to your Swift point, in a close game, the running back is never going to dominate the fourth quarter, especially
True.
when you're playing from behind. So I
Yep.
think that plays into it for sure. But I agree with you. DeAndre Swift looked great. And last year, he was a running back that at times, I mean, I know it more than anyone. I was the biggest DeAndre Swift praiser going into last year. He looked inconsistent at times, but I think he had some incredibly impressive runs that got them big first downs when they needed it.
Yep.
And they did go away from him, which left a lot of people scratching their heads, you and I especially. But I think that there is a certain amount of praise that needs to be sung for the Vikings offense. I mean, I will be the first guy to say I think JJ McCarthy is overrated.
Okay.
I think he's got a bit of Zach Wilson in him. I mean, going into the draft, he wasn't a projected first round until his senior day. He's one of those guys.
Yep.
So, but he's only lost 3 games since he was 14 years old.
Right.
He finds a way to win, and he certainly did that against the Bears on Monday night. And I'm not going to overreact about the Vikings personally. I think that they're going to be middle of the road. They're playing in pretty much probably the toughest division in football right now. But they did do what they had to win the game, and I think that's big moving forward.
Look, I don't think it's a stretch to say that with that Vikings offense, you need a game manager or quarterback, right? Somebody that's cheap because they didn't want to commit to Darnold, right? Sam Darnold comes in, he has a career year there. He's now a Seahawk because they didn't want to pay him. They thought that they had the next guy coming up. If JJ McCarthy can develop into a Brock Purdy-esque quarterback, they're going to win football games because you have the best receiver in the league on your team, right? In the second half, it was like Justin Jefferson, I think, going into the second half had either 1 or 2 targets. And in the second half, he had touchdowns and like 70 yards. You know what I mean? Like, those are the types of players that are going to win you football games. It's not necessarily the quarterback.
He's also a rookie quarterback. I mean, he's not
Agreed.
a rookie, but it is his rookie season.
Yep.
So he's going to take time to figure some stuff out. If he can do that in his first game, then I guess we'll see what he can do moving forward. But I think I agree. I see him being kind of a game manager like Brock Purdy is. I think he falls into that category.
Yeah. But I also think that very few quarterbacks that I've seen have a first half like that respond the way he did in the second half. And I think that composure
it's not even
does
the second
come
half. It's just the fourth quarter.
right. I think that composure does come from the fact that he played in a Harbaugh system that won a national championship, right? Not every single one of those games was an easy game. Again, like you said, he's a perennial winner. I think that's a good thing in a quarterback, right? I want my quarterback to have a repertoire of winning football games. And I'm interested to see his development moving forward because I'm the same way. I didn't really see a ton from him in college football that like really made me think, okay, this is the guy that you're going to commit to long term, and this is the guy that you're going to bench a guy who just threw for 4,000 yards for, right? So like it felt like to me they let the guy walk in Sam Darnold. But whatever the flashes were with JJ McCarthy, I think you saw some of them on Monday night.
Yeah, for sure. Let's move on to our next game that we're going to overreact about. The Packers just stomped the defending NFC North champions and the Detroit Lions at
Yep.
home on Sunday.
Yep.
Micah Parsons only played 42% of the snaps on defense, so he
Right.
wasn't even necessarily on the field all that much.
Mhm.
What are you overreacting about in that game?
I think I'm overreacting about the Lions more so than anybody else. I think they're going to really struggle this year. And I don't love to say that, right? Because I was, a big Lions guy last year. I was a supporter of a team that like has really never seen any success. Um, but I just think they've lost too much. I mean, Ben Johnson, he lost his first game. Aaron Glenn also lost his first game with the Jets as head coach. But they both looked at home in the head coaching seat. You know what I mean? So, like, I don't know necessarily what Dan Campbell's strengths are. I think it's defensive more so than offensive. Um, but to be honest with you, they just looked really out of sorts. And they have too much talent to be that out of sorts, right? You have Jameer Gibbs, you have David Montgomery, you have Amon-Ra St. Brown, you have Sam Laporta. Like, you have guys that can make plays. You shouldn't be scoring, 6 points? Like, there's no reason that team with that caliber of offense should be scoring 6 points. And I think this is also a statement about the Packers, though, at the same time. Like, that team has done a lot to bolster their roster. I still don't really necessarily know how good their wide receiver core is. If I
They
was to
looked
talk
pretty
about,
good.
agreed, but like top to bottom, I don't necessarily think it's one of the best in the league. But we've seen Jordan Love be able to make big plays this season, and their defense is shored up with Micah Parsons on that end. You know what I mean? Like, he was getting a ton of quarterback pressures. You said he only played 42% of the snaps on defense. That's only going to go up, and that's dangerous for the rest of the league. And
I agree.
Josh Jacobs looked good again, right? So like he's having another resurgence with the Packers here.
Yeah, and I think that this Lions team will figure it out. I think as it would be in any situation where you have a new defensive and offensive coordinator, you're not going to have it all figured out in the first week. No team does,
Yeah,
let
it's
alone
true.
with that much change in your coaching room. But even then, they disappointed expectations. I think that everyone was kind of giving them some leeway. Lambeau's a really hard place to go into and play
It's true. Yep.
divisional
Yep.
game of the week, first week.
Yep.
But they still kind of let us down expectations wise. They gave up 2 touchdowns on the first 2 drives, and they were both like the Packers really were driving on both of those first 2.
Yep.
And then they just didn't make any noise whatsoever on offense. Jameer Gibbs had, I think it was 28 or 31 receiving yards on 10 receptions. That is the lowest in this, like in the 2000s, I think, for a person with 10 receptions, which is just ridiculous. Obviously, he's a running back, but at the same time, that's not the output you're looking to get from him.
Right.
And I think it was mostly schematic. They just couldn't figure the Packers out. So I think that it's going to take them a couple weeks. They need to kind of play some shitty teams in order to get the ball rolling, but I
Yep.
think they will figure it out.
Okay. Okay. I'm interested to see what this Lions teams looks like because I really do think that like there's supposed to be a shored up defense now that Aiden Hutchinson is healthy and some other stuff. Like they're supposed to that I think that's supposed to be something that they can hang their hat on. More so than last season where like injuries crippled them in the playoffs. You know what I mean? But I don't know. Like I could see this team having an NFC's championship or NFC, what is it?
North.
NFC North championship hangover and just not being the same team.
Well, if you look at the games that they won last year, they gave up 27 points to the Packers.
Yeah.
That was getting them a win in almost every game that they played last year.
Correct.
So, I mean, their defense was never one to hold you to 3 points. That was never their identity.
Yes.
And I'm not going to say they did their job, but if it's, I mean, even 21-13 looks different than 27-13.
Agreed.
And it's a completely different game.
Agreed.
All right, moving forward. We saw one of the best Sunday night football games I've ever watched in my life.
Mm-hmm.
It was absolutely incredible. I think the Bills had a 0.09% chance to win that game.
Yeah, they got to
And
stop
did.
putting those statistics out, dude. Like they just always come back to bite you.
Someone said that on the broadcast, and you and I were talking to each other, and I was like, oh, there's the stat. Here we
Yep.
go. And they came back and won. So if it's me, I'm not even overreacting about the Bills. We know
Right.
they can do that.
Right.
I'm overreacting about the Ravens. Every time the Ravens lose a game like this, there's a million memes about all the score lines of scores that they've blown.
Correct.
And it's bit them in the ass for years. And going into this year, we talked about it last week, the Ravens were going to go in there and get it done. And for the first uh, 52 minutes of the 60-minute football game,
Yep.
we saw that happen, and then they
Yep.
just blew it.
Yep. They just fell apart. I don't know. I don't even know what to say. Like the running back who had 200 yards on the day fumbles a football. You know what I mean? Like it's just like they're snake bit. It feels like, right? Like they shouldn't. The Bills should not statistically have had enough possessions in that game to win that game. But the fact of the matter is that the Ravens' game management under Harbaugh in these types of game situations has not been good enough.
And the Ravens had a chance to win the game. The Bills had a dropped pass from Keon Coleman on the 2-point conversion. You thought the Ravens won the game, and then they still blew it with a minute and a half left. You needed 2 first downs, and they blew it.
Or another stop, right? Like you just had to stop them from getting into field goal range. And then they rip off a huge return on the punt, and it's over, right? Like it's I don't know. I don't even know what to say about the Ravens because they are a team that I look at and I'm like, there's no reason why this team shouldn't be winning football games. And let's say it like it is. The only team that I think that's better than the Ravens or on the same level as the Ravens in the AFC is probably the Bills, right? But you just can't trust that this Ravens team is going to get it done in crunch time. And that's been the biggest issue with Lamar Jackson thus far in his career is one, he's not clutch. He's a stat padding quarterback. He gets his own, but when the big game happens, he can't win. Right? So when is that narrative going to shift? And that's the biggest question that I think I have for Baltimore going forward.
And he's deep enough in his career where it has to shift. It has
Agreed.
to shift, or else
Agreed.
that's going to follow him forever.
The same question we have about Josh Allen. It's the same one, right? But like the difference is that whenever the Ravens play the Bills win.
Yeah.
Like, so that's just like, it's interesting. It's an interesting scenario to be in. Huge win for the Bills though, morale wise. You put up 41 points. To be able to come back against that team. Really?
Yeah, scoregami.
I didn't know that. Interesting. I see those as all positives if I'm a Bills fan, right? Like aside from the fact that you were down so much, like the grit and grind that this team is going to have all season is something that, we'll see how that goes. Keon Coleman looked good if you're a Bills fan, I thought. We expected him to take a jump this year because I still don't think that the Bills have a really shored up wide receiver core.
I think he'll be the wide receiver 1. He looked great.
I agree, but they still have like him and Khalil Shakir like battling for your wide receiver 1 spot. Like it's not a fantastic place to be in. But I think you're going to see him take a jump towards being more so a wide receiver 1. And then, both of these teams are teams that are high-powered offense, so I don't really know if you can, like, talk about the defense as much, right? Just because, like, we knew that this game was going to be a shootout. We knew that both these teams it was like what one stop was going to happen that was going to shift the trajectory of this game. And the answer is the Bills got more stops in the fourth quarter, and the Ravens shouldn't have even been in a position to lose that game. Another guy that looked really good, though, Zay Flowers looked really good. I think there's going to be questions about, how well his output will be later in the season just because Lamar isn't necessarily the biggest throwing quarterback. But anytime that you can get a guy, 7 receptions, 140-something yards and a touchdown, not a bad day. And then, I mean, I don't know. Like, it's so hard for me to put this game into my brain because it's like, I don't understand how, if you're the Ravens, you come out of there with a loss.
Yeah, I don't know how they blew it. Another team that kind of really disappointed this week, Friday night game in Brazil, the Kansas City Chiefs came out and they really were not great. And they lost to the Chargers, who, I mean, we've been talking about it. This Chargers team's good. They're very good. And the question going in was, can they win big games during the season? And they proved that they could. And obviously, you have a huge loss in the first drive of the game. Xavier Worthy goes down injured.
Right.
We don't know how long he'll be out for. He has a dislocated shoulder. Another wide receiver that you lose for the beginning of the season. I think that they may struggle through the next couple weeks. But even then, are you overreacting about the Chiefs?
Yeah, I think it's a good question. I think that this is a year that you will, and I'm gonna knock on wood here because this one could come back. I think this is a year that you're going to see the Chiefs regress. I simply don't think that they put enough time and effort into making this roster good. You know what I mean? Like last year, I think you and I both stated that this Chiefs team probably wasn't the best team in the AFC, but they got it done. and they got to the Super Bowl, and then they met a team that was way better than them, and they lost in embarrassing fashion, in my opinion. But throughout the regular season, it didn't feel like that team was the same team that we saw in 2023 or even in 2022, right? When they were winning back-to-back Super Bowls. Like, those teams for the Chiefs were world beaters, and last year they were beating teams by like 3 or 4 points in games that they shouldn't have even really been in. Like, it was just kind of like, it wasn't super inspiring football. Um, so I'm interested to see what this Chiefs team does down the line, but I just don't think that they've made any adjustments, right? You were expecting that Hollywood Brown and Xavier Worthy and Pacheco and Rashi Rice, who's now serving a suspension, were all going to take a step forward. And honestly, I think now that Xavier Worthy is out and Rashi Rice is out, they're going to have a really tough time generating offense. Travis Kelce's obviously aging. He's probably going into what's one of his few final years as an NFL tight end, if I had to take a guess. But I mean, like, it's hard to talk about the Chiefs at the same time because they are so well coached that this team could just turn it around in an instant. I think the statement's more about the Chargers, if anybody else. Quentin Johnson looked like a really good receiver, right? Someone that you could throw the ball to and he wasn't going to drop it, which is not something that you're normally seeing from him. You know, there is a little bit of a battle in the backfield. I think with the Chargers right now, they have a few backs. Najee Harris is splitting time with
Amarian Hampton's going to be RB1 in that.
Okay, but yeah, so we'll see with that. But I think that Harbaugh teams are winning teams, right? And this is a huge win for a team that's trying to compete in this division because it has been dominated by the Chiefs for so long.
Yeah, that's one that they definitely had circled going into the season.
Agreed.
All right, last team that we're going to react about. This is one that I just kind of threw down there. I think a lot of eyes were on the Texans to see how CJ Stroud would respond from his second year. Sophomore slump, I believe the phrase is.
Yep.
He looked bad. The whole team looked bad. They need Joe Mixon. They need Joe Mixon back immediately. And even if they don't, they looked horrible throughout the whole game. I didn't see anything that made me think that's going to be a good football team.
I agree. I didn't see really any redeeming qualities from this team at all. I mean, they are riddled with injuries on the offensive side of the ball. But at the same time, like, how do you not get Nico Collins the ball? He is your wide receiver one, right? It's a little bit mind-boggling, the fact that he was only targeted a few times. You still have Dalton Schultz on your team. Like, yeah, you guys are missing Tank Dell right now. You're missing a few other guys. Mixon isn't playing right now. Like, but I mean, 9 points against a Rams team that doesn't have a fantastic defense. It feels like the Texans went out of their way to lose this game. And to be honest with you, it feels like the Texans are the exact same team they were last season, where they're going to sneak into the playoffs in a really weak division and then get waxed in the first round.
That may be true. I don't even know if they'll make the playoffs. We will see.
Who else is in that division, though? Like, it's them.
I said it. Daniel Jones and the Colts. They're going to make some noise. They're going to make some noise.
Do you want to overreact about that real quick?
Yeah, Daniel Jones is going to win the AFC South for the Colts. I already said it.
All right, cool. I actually do like the Colts this year, though, but yeah.
Let's talk Pats football. Patriots came out and they lost to the Raiders. I think that there's a couple ways that you could look at this game.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, everyone needs to be patient with this Patriots team. They, again, have a new defensive coordinator. They have a new offensive coordinator. They have a new head coach.
Well, McDaniels isn't necessarily new, but
he's new to the Vrabel system.
Yeah, I guess, yeah.
He's new to literally everyone on this team.
Okay.
So there are a lot of questions about the Patriots. They're going to take 4 to 6 weeks to figure out, and that's okay. You can be patient about them. The problem with that is there's a lot of winnable games in weeks 1 through 6.
Yep.
So, I mean, I think that if you get towards the end of the season and you figure it out, but you lose games towards the end, you're going to be kicking yourself about the fact that you didn't figure it out at the beginning of the season because you could have beat these teams. Look, the Raiders aren't that good. There's no reason Geno Smith should be throwing for 365 yards against any defense, but he did. And he led them on a huge fourth quarter drive where, I mean, we had them pinned on fourth down. We had a chance to get the ball back in our half of the field, and we couldn't do it. So the Patriots had chances to win that game, but I don't think that, when you depend on this many young guys to step up and make huge plays this early in the season, you can't count on that. And also, it's going to take a little bit of time for these guys to figure it out, and that's okay. So for me,
Yeah.
we lost that game. I expected us to win that game, as you did as well. But I'm not crushed about the fact that we lost it.
Yeah, I think I was more so expecting us to win because we were at home. Like I think that was a big part of it was like, okay, the Patriots are home. Like this is the first home football game they're going to play. Christian Gonzalez goes down, doesn't play this game. That's an issue for their secondary. But like you said, like there's no reason that Geno Smith should be able to tear us up with like Jacoby Myers out there catching passes, former Patriot, by the way. Um, yeah, I look, I think that the Patriots are going to run into a problem where like consistently the past few years we've been like, okay, what is the line that we have to score in order for us to win games? And it's been like 17 points is like the most we can score in a game. And I don't really know how we get over that hump, right?
I don't think
Like,
this team loses if we score 24 points.
yeah,
We have a good
I I,
defense.
I agree.
Our new guys look good too. Carlton Davis had a big blow late in the game, but he made a phenomenal play. He made one of the best pass deflections I've seen from a Patriot in years in the
Since
first quarter.
Stephon Gilmore.
I don't even know the name of the Patriots safety who was absolutely massive with an interception and a sack in one drive, right? Um, so, I mean, these guys are good. We don't have Christian Gonzalez. Milton Williams looked phenomenal on the defensive line. Harold Landry played a hell of a game, and it's his first game in Patriot Blue.
Yep,
So, there's definitely positives to take from this game. Travion Henderson looked great. Kayshon Boutte had 100 yards receiving. Stephon Diggs had 5 receptions for 60 yards, right? There are positives to take away from this game. But unfortunately, you're not in the win column. And I think that
correct.
looking towards Miami, in Miami, which seems to not really be that big of a deal,
Mhm.
um, it, you would like to be 1-1 after this Sunday.
I agree. At what time do you think Trayvon Henderson takes over this backfield?
Yeah, I think he already has. I mean, if you look at
Okay.
he only had 5 carries, but he turned that into 25 yards. Ramondre Stevenson had like 14 for 30 yards, right? So, I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
he is on the way out. He's not the number one running back in New England anymore. It's just about getting Henderson his touches. And I think that as the season goes, we'll see that more and more.
Gotcha. Okay.
All right, should we make some picks?
Let's move on. Yeah.
Look,
Eh,
we're bad last week.
we were really bad. Really bad. Really bad
We
week.
were horrible. Let's
To
be
be
even
honest,
worse this week. Let's be worse this
a
week.
lot of the teams that we picked won their game. They just didn't cover.
Yeah, I
No one
had
covered.
Steelers minus 2.5. They won by 2 points. Same with
Yeah, same. I had the
I had
Bucks.
another
I
game.
had the Bengals. Like a lot of teams just didn't do their job.
Yeah, exactly.
Just didn't do
Bengals
their
won.
job.
Um, I had, I think, 2 more teams that maybe I think. Yeah, I had Broncos won by 8 points. Steelers won by 2 points. That's brutal. Missed by
Right.
1 point on both of them.
Right.
So you had first pick last week. I won, so I have first pick this week. My first
Correct.
pick, I'm going to be taking Niners minus 4.5 over the Saints. And look, I think we're going to be preying on the Saints this year. Just like
Mhm.
I think they're this year's Panthers, to be honest with you. I think we're
Yeah,
going to be preying
they're
on
not
them.
good.
Although
Yeah,
they did play better than I thought they would against the Cardinals.
I just think the Cardinals aren't that good. I think it's more so a statement about the Cardinals than it is about the Saints because they keep setting Chris Olave up to get absolutely obliterated on the pass. That guy has taken more hospital balls than I have seen in a really long time.
His
He gets
mixtape just keeps growing.
crushed on some plays. I'm going to take a bounce back here. I think the Bengals really underperformed last week against the Browns. I'm expecting Jamar and Joe Burrow to figure it the hell out and win over the Jags by more than 3.5 points or by more than 4 points. I think that this is an easy win for the Bengals if they can get out of their own way.
The Jags looked pretty good last week. Obviously, they're playing the Panthers, and the Bengals are still kind of in that purgatory of their first 4 weeks of the NFL season where they're horrible.
Yep.
So I don't know if I love this one, but I also expect them to figure it out. You have to at this point.
Right.
My second pick, this one felt like a pretty free one to me. I'm surprised this dropped to me. I got Bucks plus 2.5 over the Texans, so they have to either win or lose by less than 3 points. The Texans did not inspire me at all. I thought they looked horrible, and I thought that the Bucks looked really good, especially when it mattered. Emeka Ibuka looked phenomenal this week. He had 2 touchdowns in his rookie debut. I think that he's going to fall into that group of guys from Ohio State that makes them wide receiver U right now.
Right.
And
Yeah.
I just think that they're going to beat the Texans straight up, and plus 2.5 feels ridiculous to me.
Yeah, I don't necessarily think that's a bad pick at all. I think that I would agree with it, and I didn't see it, and I probably would have taken it first if I had seen it. I'm going to go out on a limb here, and I'm going to say that the Bears are going to cover against the Lions plus 5.5. Um, I don't love this pick, to be honest with you. I think that either one of these teams, we don't know anything about them, but I like Ben Johnson going back against the Dan Campbell run defense, and we'll see what happens there.
In Detroit, that's big.
In Detroit. In Detroit.
My last pick, I have Chargers minus 3.5 over the Raiders, also on Monday Night Football. The Raiders looked fine. The Chargers looked good. If the Patriots are putting up that much of a fight against the Raiders, I think that the Chargers will come out and beat them
Mhm.
pretty handily. Probably a 10-point game to me. And yeah, I have the minus 3.5.
And I'm going to wrap this week up by not learning anything. I'm going to take the Patriots plus 1.5 over the Dolphins. The Dolphins looked horrendous last weekend.
It's a good pick, though. It's a good pick.
Dolphins are at home, and I don't think Mike McDaniel wins away games. He only wins home games. So I guess we'll see with this one. Again, two teams that we don't really know very much about.
The Patriots always play the Dolphins in Miami when it's about 95 degrees in week 1 or 2 every single year.
Yep.
It feels like it's going to be one of those games. Let's see if the Pats can play in the heat.
Agreed.
All right, let's go into game of the week. Obvious one, Super Bowl rematch, 425, Eagles, Chiefs. I'm taking the Eagles. I think both of these teams disappointed in their first week. Which one won a game? The Eagles. Which one disappointed less than their expectations? The Eagles. It seems like an obvious pick to me. I think the Eagles are going to come out and beat them, especially if the Chiefs don't have 2 of their starting receivers.
Agreed. I think you're right. Just for the fun of it, I'm going to take the Chiefs to be contrarian
That's not
here.
fun, though. That's not fun. Any
mean
other
it's not
team would be fun.
It's fun. I'm having fun.
You're gonna root for the Chiefs during this game. You're gonna say,
No.
"I want the Chiefs to win."
I'm not.
Look the camera in the eyes right now and say, "I want the Chiefs to win this football game."
The Chiefs are going to win this football game. That's what I'll say. All right. Moving on.
All right, fair enough. All right, the not game of the week. We gave them the benefit of the doubt last week. We said, okay, there might be some upside of this team, so we're not going to take them. We took them, again, 11 times last year.
Yep.
We are going to take Panthers Cardinals this week. Cardinals made their first appearance on not game of the week last week. They'll be right back in the same spot this week. I'm going to take the Cardinals. I think the Panthers looked horrible in their first week. I still think that there is some upside to this team, but I still think the Cardinals will win.
Yeah, go Birds. Taking the Cardinals as well. I think the Panthers are awful. I think Bryce Young is awful. I think he's a bust, and we'll see what happens.
All right, well, that will conclude this episode. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be back next week as always, but until then, this has been The Corner Office, and I'm Jack Byrne.
I'm Alex Penders.
Don't